Hello, this is Jay with Guilty of Crime. I am here today to bring a bloody love story on Valentine's Day. Now, we all like true crime. We might not all like Valentine's Day. It's a 50-50 mix. Some people I say happy Valentine's Day to, and they say, yeah, I don't like Valentine's Day, bah humbug, right? But for me, it's not about love or any of that. I'm married 18 years, love my wife, but it's not about that to me. It's about another day to celebrate something. And also like it for the kids, giving out the candies and the cards and such. But I also love true crime. So I'm bringing a bloody love story on Valentine's Day. Now, I watch true crime all year long. So, true crime, I watch it on Christmas, I watch it on Thanksgiving, I watch it all year long. True crime and horror. I'm a big horror fan, and at some point I'll bring you into my studio where I have a ton of horror dolls and you know all the everything you could think of horror. But right now we're doing true crime. It's a true crime channel, and I want to bring true crime on Valentine's Day. So if you're one of those people that likes Valentine's Day, great. You love true crime, you can watch this. If you hate Valentine's Day, but you love true crime, you're gonna watch true crime and say, blah humbug, whatever, Valentine's Day, I don't care about it. And then we're gonna watch this. These people weren't too big on Valentine's Day either. So yeah, this is a case that I'm covering, and it's from Santa Clara, California. I'm a few miles away in San Jose. It's all the Bay Area. It's all Google people that work in the surrounding areas. So today I'm bringing you a case about a software engineer from Google who was charged with beating his wife to death. Now, these two people are average looking people that you would never suspect of something like this happening. And this place, Google, that you know so well, is the place you go to find stuff. So we have this big, beautiful campus. This is a dream job, I'll tell you, because I've seen the campus. When you go to Shoreline Amphitheater, you definitely are going to pass by Google. You're going to see the bikes everywhere that they ride around. They have every benefit you can think of. They have food on the campus. They have babysitting. You can bring your animals. They have beer Fridays. The food is just like top notch that they get to eat while they're working. So, yeah, you get everything at Google, and you've got this couple here that looks like the perfect couple. They've got the dream job, the cute house. Now, if you know anything about the Bay Area, you know that house in Santa Clara County. It's an older house. I don't know how it looks inside, but it's probably $1.8 million. Probably built in 1960, maybe no upgrades. Anyhow, so yeah, perfect storm, right? Perfect storm for a perfect couple. So this is what the crime scene is ultimately going to look like, and we'll see this in a minute with the clip that I have. I knew I had to cover this story when it hit close to home. I mean, these are the people I see around all the time. I, for my job, interact with Google, and we do training for the people there. So I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Yeah, they were probably at my facility right before the holiday. These software engineers, all of them. We train them, and we go on their campus. And yeah, this is just really close to home. And when I seen this, I said, what can possibly drive this man to supposedly, again, innocent until proven guilty? What would drive him to beat his wife to death? Now we look at, things that are evil. People plead that they're crazy and all these things, but I don't know, because I'm going to watch this again with you, and we can talk about what they found, what happened so far, and then we can cover it as things happen as well. So again, you see these people and they look normal house working at Google. the dream job of Google. And you have no idea until you see the campus and see what they have to offer. How much these people get paid is astronomical. So this house is 1.8 million to $2 million. No reason why this could happen. And this is what happened. So let's watch the clip together and see what happened. Again, I saw this last night and I was like, I have to share this with you. I couldn't pass this up. So let me get my link and we're gonna play this. I love playing clips because it gives you more of the truth than me trying to theorize something. But I'll get my thoughts in. All right, let's play this. I did change the color. It's a Valentine's Day banner. So now I'm going to actually share this. I don't know what happened here, but it didn't share. So here, let's go. Let's do this again. We're going to start it over. And this is my second live today, and I worked all day. So let's try this again.
Here are two people, highly educated, seemingly successful, working at Google. It's a dream job for many people. And yet you still have what looks like a domestic violence incident.
A Google software engineer is found beaten to death in her upscale California home. Investigators say the suspect is her own husband.
Was there a pattern of this? Was there something that triggered this particular event?
First responders on the scene found Siwoo Yu beaten to death in her own home. They found her husband, Liren Chen, covered in blood spatter. But still, so many unanswered questions.
What did coworkers see in that kind of interaction? Did they hear them arguing? Did they ever see her afraid of him?
The gruesome scene was discovered when police responded to a welfare check at the couple's Santa Clara, California home. Inside, they found Yu with severe blunt force injuries to her head. Chen was found with blood all over his body, scratches along his arms, and a swollen hand. According to court docs, Chen explained this away when he, quote, replied, "I punched my wife." They asked him when this happened, and he replied, "Yesterday." In those same court documents, a Santa Clara police detective went on to write in part, quote, "Based on my training and experience, I believe suspect Chen murdered his wife by striking her in the head repeatedly." Despite the overwhelming evidence that Chen is responsible, attorney and trial consultant Dina Saig-Dahl says his defense team will likely dispute that right away.
His first defense will probably be that he didn't do it, right? That there was maybe an intruder. Maybe he was the one fighting off the intruder. That would be, I don't know if his defense will be able to find any kind of evidence to support that, but that would be maybe your initial defense was he wasn't the right person. Possibly self-defense he can claim, or some sort of mental incapacity at the time he can could claim. It's these types of defenses that we're likely to see if this proceeds to trial.
Chen is now charged with his wife's murder, and so far, investigators believe they know how to label the crime.
The fact that it's possibly a domestic violence case would help the prosecution in terms of motive. And in order to kind of flush that out, the investigation would have to show then maybe that there was some sort of pattern of abuse, that they had talked to people about this abuse. Did people ever see injuries on her before? Usually in a domestic violence situation, to get to the extent of actually death, there would have not been the first time the spouse had abused the other spouse. And so, in order to kind of bring that into the trial, they're going to have to show that they have evidence other than just the killing that, he was indeed abusing her.
So, in order to determine some of that, do you think they'll go back and look at their past emails or text messages, their phone logs, things like that?
Yes, absolutely. We've seen this before in other cases, and your viewers will have seen this before. Well, they'll see text messages, and a lot can be shown even through text messages. Was he controlling? Was he spying on her? Was he overly jealous? Did she sound fearful in some of her texts? Was she telling him to stop? So they're going to collect all of that, like you said, texts, photos, emails, any kind of communication between the two of them that can show what type of relationship they had.
Before the murder, a friend had dinner with both Chen and Yu. He reported Chen was acting off, so much so that he went over to the couple's house the next day. That's when the friend saw Chen, quote, motionless, on his knees, had his hands in the air, and was staring blankly. That's when the friend requested a welfare check. A friend had dinner with the couple the night before the murder, and they noted that Chen seemed kind of off. Is that something that investigators are going to look into, the Last Supper, so to speak?
Absolutely. And in order to kind of find out what was happening in their relationship, they will definitely question their friends and people around them. And to me, the fact that she was so worried about him seeming off that she kind of did a welfare check on them the next day, or requested a welfare check on them the next day, almost raises a red flag to me, because I don't know if everybody would automatically assume something horrible had happened just because somebody had seemed off the night before and maybe you couldn't reach them that morning, which leads me to think that it's possible this person had seen other instances of where she was worried what may be happening with them. And that in itself is definitely something that investigators will look into more.
Saeed Dahl says Chen's reaction to stare off blankly after his wife's murder could be fuel for his defense.
The fact that he wasn't trying to clean it up or trying to escape, there's this idea that maybe he was in some sort of.
Yeah, you see this though. It's interesting that they went to the crime scene, found the evidence that they found, and then still, they still have to gather all this evidence and find out about their history, find out who was talking to what, check their text messages. It's like walking into a house with somebody doing this motion, the knife that's bleeding, and your partner has blood on them, and you got it all over you, and then saying, "Oh well, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Somebody broke in," or whatever he might have said. We don't know any of that yet, but we do know when we look at the picture of him, or we look at the picture of both of them, we're like, wait, how could that happen? It's two meek looking, average, ordinary people in the Bay Area that work at Google. And if you know engineers, software engineers, any engineers, they're really quiet and kind of awkward. So it's interesting to hear this. Not that they can't have anger issues, and there must have been anger issues between the two. Maybe somebody was cheating. Maybe he was cheating and wanted to get rid of her. Maybe she was cheating and he found out. Right now, I could speculate to, to the roof and back, because we don't know. So we're just speculating at this point of what happened. I don't think that even they know yet. So let's finish this.
Or PTSD and frozen, I would think his defense would try to argue that maybe started, before the violence broke out, that he was in some sort of blackout, didn't know what he was doing. And maybe there's something in there that they can kind of justify why legally that would help, him not be convicted of murder. I mean, even if you're in a blackout and you kill somebody, that doesn't exactly, get you off. But if there's other things leading into it, either it was mental health diagnosis or perhaps some medication he was on. I mean, there's all sorts of things that we don't know yet. But the fact that he was sitting there frozen could mean that they will play some sort of like incapacity defense.
After Yu's body was recovered, Chen was taken to the hospital. Saeed Dahl believes those records and other medical records will be of interest to both sides.
They would definitely look at his medical records. And there's reporting that his hands were swollen, which leads the fact you to believe that he was the one who committed that crime against his wife. Again, I think could they say that maybe he was trying to fight off somebody else? Unlikely unless they can show some sort of, evidence that somebody else was in the home. But they will definitely be able to look into those medical records. This is a crime at this point, and they can do everything to investigate and possibly, again, if there was something more mental going on there, and did they treat him for that? Was there any kind of, blackout that they were actually treating him for? That would help the defense if so.
I'm glad that you brought up that swollen hand because that's something that I've seen too, reports that his hand was swollen and he said something to the effect of, I hit my wife or I punched my wife, something similar to that. So does that count as an admittance of what he had done?
Yes. I mean, if you are confessing to the crime, it's definitely an admission that can be,
What's interesting about this, what they just said, is if this was another case, or when it gets into the, if it makes it in social media, or when the crime's coming, when the actual case is coming and people talk about it, what he said could be taken like Richard Allen. Look at Richard Allen that said he did it, and then all of a sudden, oh, he said it because he was under distress, he had a blackout, maybe he didn't know, he wasn't eating right. So this is interesting that the whole thing that he said could be turned around to something that's way different than actually happened. So keep that in mind when you're listening to these different Delphi conspiracy theories, that one man said one thing to two different people and it's misconstrued in 25 different ways. Keep that in mind.
Admitted in the court of law.
Even with that confession, investigators will still dig into Chen and Yu's backgrounds, including their work at Google. And really, this case is gaining a lot of attention because of the serious nature of it, but also that both the victim and suspect worked at Google. I mean, that's a big name company. So I'm wondering if investigators could even go into their work life and take a look at some of that. Is that possible too?
I think it is possible, and really because they both worked there. So this idea of them trying to investigate what their relationship is like, if they were spending all day in the same Google building, let's say, they most likely interacted with each other. And what did coworkers see in that kind of interaction? Did they hear them arguing? Did they ever see her afraid of him? In that respect, the fact that they both worked at the same place, you're more likely to have maybe Google pulled in and questioned around this.
Because the couple worked at the same place, their personal relationship overlapped with their professional one. Saik Dahl says that makes it likely investigators will do some deeper digging involving Google.
I think there's a few ways we can see it. For one, we can see it in the respect of trying to collect evidence of what their relationship was like at work and whether or not this leads into this being a domestic violence situation. There's also some speculation that the killing, and if he were indeed the person who killed it, had something to do with Google doing layoffs. And if indeed the husband was recently laid off, then they might ask the Google executive to kind of.
Yeah, definitely have. That's weird. I have it unmuted. I can see the icon. Can you hear me now? There's a delay on it. So anyhow, if you can hear me, it's unmuted. And if you remember, not too long ago, there was COVID and people worked from home and the divorce rate skyrocketed. Everybody I know was getting a divorce, arguing, cheating, whatever you have it, they were doing it because people were together too much. So that's interesting. If Google is having layoffs, which is like Apple and Facebook and Snapchat and all the other big companies that we work for, they're all slow right now. They're all laying people off and hiring contractors so that they don't have to carry them directly. So yeah, these people could well be those two people that got laid off as software engineers. Now, if you look on a LinkedIn ad or any job finder, everywhere is plastered on there Google looking for a software engineer, but they're looking for a contractor. So that's very interesting for them to say that. All right, back to
Establish that. Uh, and perhaps even how did he receive that information? Was he upset? Again, kind of trying to build the motive. And also, this made big news in China as well. And uh, is the citizenship an issue? Like, was he here on a work visa? Then a layoff could be even more important. Like, was he subject to being, deported as a result? And that again could have maybe ratcheted up um, why something like this happened. This is everything that prosecution would want to kind of flesh out to establish their motive. Again, this is really in the beginning stages, all speculation of whether or not he was even laid off, whether or not his being laid off would affect whether or not he could stay in the state. But if it did, certainly I think that's when we would see a Google executive be brought in.
According to Syed Dal, the investigation is far from over.
They're going to really look into everything regarding him and his wife. As we talked about, was there a pattern of this? Was there something that triggered this particular event? And really, hopefully, really methodically try to investigate it to kind of rule out any other suspects and also kind of preserve the evidence that they can. So if they do end up bringing this to trial, they're able to present it in a way for the prosecution to be able to get a conviction.
As for a timeline, Chen's team will likely ask for more time before any major court dates are set.
The defense always has a right to a speedy trial. That's a constitutional right. Most defendants kind of waive that right because they want to be able to have more time to present their, to basically do their own investigation and come up with their own legal theories that might help their defense. But they do have a right to a speedy trial. And so they could always invoke it, but it's usually not invoked, and it usually is delayed because of the defense asking for more time.
Though we're still waiting for more details to come out, for now, the case appears to be domestic violence related. Syed Dal says that brings up an important reminder.
Domestic violence, occurs regardless of your financial situation, regardless of your education. Here are two people highly educated, seemingly successful, working at Google. It's a dream job for many people. And yet you still have what looks like a domestic violence incident. And I think it's a good reminder that domestic violence can happen to anyone at any time. 1 in 3 women in America, 1 in 4 men are victims of domestic violence in this country. And it's just a reminder that it doesn't spare you regardless of, how good your job happens to be. And it is a tragic thing whenever it does happen here.
Agreed. So Silicon Valley is one of the richest places on the planet, one of the richest cities on the planet. California is a pretty rich state as well. When I travel, people talk about California and they say, "Oh, you're from California? Oh, you guys are rich over there." No, we're not. We just pay more for everything and everything costs more. So yeah, interesting case. When I first saw it, I read about it. I first saw it and then I read about it. And what it said was the Google employee Liren Chen was taken into custody. And I didn't hear this part on there. And charged with murder after he was allegedly found on his knees, spattered in blood, and his hands were extremely swollen and purple. I did hear that part. When the police arrived at Chen's house after someone called for a welfare check, they found Chen and his wife's body dead in the home. He was later hospitalized and yet has to face a trial. Obviously, he's innocent until proven guilty. So, yeah, very interesting story. There's not a whole bunch on it. It was only 2 weeks ago, tops. And so I definitely had to get this out there because, yeah, I'm right down the street from it. Now, I did see another clip from ABC News, and I'm not sure if it's similar or what, but I'm going to take a look at it and see if it has anything to do with or something that we can watch real quickly here. It might be the same one. I'm not sure. Oh, let's take a look. Hold on real quick and I'll go back. You can still see me, but you can't see that. So good. Let's see what it says, man. Chart. All right. So this one was the breaking news, and it might be the same. It might have a little different. Let me check real quick. I'll present this to you. You can watch it with me, and if not, we'll stop it. I'll wrap it up, and we'll just do a quick 30-minute one. That was on like 2 hours earlier. So yeah, let's see what we've got here. Man charged.
Now out of Santa Clara, where a man has been charged with killing his wife. 27-year-old Liren Chen was found in his home covered in blood Tuesday evening. His wife's body was nearby. Police say she has blunt force injuries to her head. An officer says Chen said he punched his wife. Chen was supposed to be arraigned today, but he's currently hospitalized, expected in court next Wednesday.
Okay, so you saw that one. I actually saw that quick breaking news and I thought, oh, there's got to be more about this case. So saw that. I found the one that's a little bit longer. So that means when it gets a little bit longer, it's getting ready to locally we're going to see more. We're going to follow the case. Maybe we'll see something in the courtroom. I mean, this is a Google case. They're putting Google as the forefront because they both work there. And in this area, you can see it's Bay Area 7 News, and it made it to Law and Crime. So it's a very interesting case. I would definitely love to see if we could cover it further, see what happened. Yeah, and I would definitely like to be on here longer, but two things. Number one, Zab's going to come on, and I'd like to watch her live. That was good that she did it at 5:30 instead of 4. Number two, I'm a bit tired from the live earlier, and I wanted to bring some Valentine's Day bloody story to you, which maybe I'll do those regularly. Just do some 30-minute cool stories that you can talk about. Hey, did you hear about that? And then the third thing, I have to pick my beautiful daughter up from school. So that's coming up soon. And yeah, Sadie's mama, I appreciate you. I looked at my views, and it's only the last 14 days that 13 or 14 days I've been on here. I got 13,700. So people might not be on here with me right now. Sadie's mama, that's good enough. If I have somebody to sit here and talk to, what I'm doing is recording these. So I'm doing it live and recording them. That way I have some content and I don't have to edit it. So I will see you over at Zav's. I appreciate you. Anybody that does a rewatch, stay tuned. I'm going to follow this case. Santa Clara, California is close to San Jose, and I'm all over this. So happy Valentine's Day to you all. Happy bloody Valentine's Day if you're still watching true crime the rest of the night. Again, this is Jay with Guilty of Crime, and you have a wonderful night.